the U.S. Supreme Court just issued a unanimous ruling on marijuana and gun rights, and if you're facing federal gun charges in New Jersey, this decision could matter to your case. The case. On June 18, 2026, every justice on the Supreme Court agreed on the outcome of United States v. Hemani. The case involved a man in Texas charged under federal law simply because he occasionally used marijuana and owned a firearm. Prosecutors never claimed he fired a weapon while under the influence, threatened anyone, or acted violently. The entire case rested on two facts: past marijuana use and a firearm in his home. The court ruled that occasional marijuana use alone is not enough to strip someone of their Second Amendment rights under federal law. Justice Neil Gorsuch, writing for the court, found that charging Hemani conflicted with the Constitution when there was no evidence of dependency, danger, or threat. What the law says, and what it doesn't. The federal statute at issue, which bans gun possession by people who use illegal drugs, was not eliminated. The court's ruling was specific and narrow. What changed is how that law can be enforced. Automatic prosecution based solely on past marijuana use, with no showing of addiction, impairment, or danger, now faces a serious constitutional challenge. The line the court drew is between someone who occasionally used marijuana and someone who poses a real, demonstrated risk. Why this matters in New Jersey? New Jersey allows adults to use marijuana recreationally under state law. But federal law still classifies marijuana as a controlled substance. That gap has led to federal gun charges arising from routine situations, traffic stops, local arrests, domestic investigations, and narcotics-related searches. Because of Hemani, defendants in New Jersey now have a potential constitutional argument when federal charges are based solely on sporadic marijuana use, and prosecutors cannot show evidence of dependency, impairment, aggression, or actual danger. What it doesn't change, and what permit applicants must know. It's important to understand what Hemani does not do. It does not affect New Jersey's gun permit process. If you apply for a firearms purchaser identification card, a handgun purchase permit, or a carry permit, state-level rules still apply. Marijuana use, including enrollment in a medical marijuana registry, can still result in a permit denial at the state level. The Supreme Court's ruling applies to federal criminal prosecution, not state licensing decisions. This is where a professional evaluation becomes critical. If you have any history of marijuana use, past or current, and you are applying for a New Jersey firearm permit, obtaining a formal psychological or medical evaluation can make a significant difference. That evaluation should specifically address whether any drug use, past or current, would affect your fitness for firearm ownership, and confirm that it would not negatively impact your character or temperament as someone entrusted with a firearm. Without that documentation, a permit examiner has no basis to distinguish your application from one involving active dependency or impairment. With it, you give yourself the strongest possible foundation to demonstrate that your history does not disqualify you under New Jersey's character and suitability standards. The bigger legal picture. Hemani builds on a series of major Second Amendment decisions. In 2022, the court's ruling in Bruin changed how all gun restrictions are evaluated. The government must now show that a firearm law is consistent with the nation's historical tradition of regulation. In 2024, Hemani upheld the federal ban on firearm possession for those under domestic violence restraining orders, because that law fit within that historical tradition. Hemani reached a different result because the government could not tie occasional marijuana use, without danger or violence, to that same historical tradition. Together, these rulings show that not every firearm restriction survives constitutional review under today's standard. What to do if you're facing charges? If you are facing a federal gun charge in New Jersey tied to marijuana or another substance, Hemani is relevant, but it is not an automatic dismissal. Every case turns on its specific facts: how often drugs were used, whether there was any evidence of impairment, how evidence was gathered, and whether prosecutors can demonstrate real personal risk. Early legal involvement is critical. The team at the Tormey Law Firm has handled federal gun cases across New Jersey. Our attorneys understand how federal and state charges intersect, and how rulings like Hemani factor into defense strategy. If you or someone you know is facing a federal firearms charge in New Jersey, don't wait. Call the Tormey Law Firm today for a free consultation. Know your rights. Protect your future. Call now.